Hi friends, thank you for watching The Source, God's Answers to Life's Hard Questions. To be honest, I was feeling a little bit stressed this week about certain things going on in my life, and I almost didn't do this week's Parsha. I thought it better just to skip it, to deal with those things, think about them, and then I realized that doing that was the complete opposite of what this week's Torah reading is all about, and I felt ever more compelled to do it. So here I am. In this week's parasha, we read how the Jews come to the Red Sea. We all have a Red Sea in our life, like my problems of this week. We all have those intractable problems that terrify us. So the Jews come to the Red Sea, and they're trapped between the desert and the sea, and they just want to go back to Egypt. They grabbed fear, and they let go of faith. But seeing that the Torah itself is a light, it is the light, it's the light that sustains the world, the light that created the world. What better way to get through our personal darkness than to attach ourselves to the words of Torah? Friends, most of us have the bad habit of romanticizing the past and looking at it through rose-colored glasses. Relationships, circumstances, which are toxic, and we know they're toxic, and we keep complaining about them and always complained about them that they were toxic. Well, somehow we also arrive at the day and the point where we start to glamorize them, and we can't seem to let go. And the question is why? And the answer is mostly because we fear the unknown. Our imaginations fail to produce positive outcomes, and so we throw ourselves into worry, and we imagine only the worst case scenarios. In just last week's Torah portion, the Israelites were freed from slavery, the climax of history. Their captivity had been torturous, so much so that their sighs reached heaven and God himself came down to save them. And yet, it didn't take long before all those bitter memories of slavery became blurred and fuzzy. Soon, the Israelites were crying to Moses to return to Egypt. They said to him, "Is it because there are no graves in Egypt that you have taken us to die in the desert? What is this that you have done to us to take us out of Egypt?" Unlike the famous words, "Give me liberty or give me death," the Israelites, once having obtained liberty, cried, "Give me slavery." And they recalled Egypt with nostalgia. It's as if they hired a PR firm to spin the whole slavery thing. They remembered it as a place where they sat by pots of meat and ate bread to their fill. They remembered it for the free fish and free cucumbers and melons and leeks and onions and garlic. Doesn't sound like the slavery that they were crying to escape from. Doesn't sound like the slavery that they prayed to God and their sighs went up to heaven. What happened? It's our minds. Our minds play tricks on us. You see, servitude, routine, dependency on people, on substance abuse, on protocol, on whatever it is, offers a sense of comfort. Our habits, our routines, they're a form of slavery. So we better make sure that they are serving us well. And yet, when they're not, still we feel safe because we know what tomorrow will look like. We went to sleep a slave, so we'll wake up a slave. And we mistake toxicity as a lifeline. Pharaoh and his servants too, they had short-term memories. They seemed to forget the 10 plagues, which devastated their land, their animals, their people. And soon they too had regrets. They regretted letting the Israelites leave Egypt. Who would serve them? Who would further enrich them? The moment that Pharaoh perceived a weakness, a block, a crack, a break in the Israelites' ability to move ahead, he pounced on them. Yesterday does not want to let us go, and we don't want to let go of yesterday. And we really need to analyze why. What is yesterday doing for us? And what does tomorrow have to promise? My friends, we too, like the Israelites and the Egyptians, have to recognize when something is over, when it's no longer good for us, and not doing so is suicide on many levels, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. Fear of change is nothing less than opportunity's assassin. And if we don't fight the fear of change in our lives and abandon the comfort zone, we will always be crying to return to Egypt. Some Jews actually refused to leave Egypt due to their lack of faith and fear of the unknown. And so they died in the plague of darkness. So apropos, because their lack of faith robbed them of the light. My friends, fear or faith, it's time to choose. And even though there are no guarantees that life will play out as we planned, a person of faith will always be walking with a figurative flashlight to illuminate life's dark moments, not only for themselves, but for everyone they encounter in life. A person of faith won't fear because he knows who walks beside him. A person of faith knows there's a reason for everything, and sometimes, most of the time, we just can't understand God's way. We have to stop sugarcoating the bitter past. We have to see it for what it is and move on. And as Winston Churchill said, I love Winston Churchill, if we open a quarrel between the past and the present, we shall find that we have lost the future. God commanded the Israelites not to return to Egypt. So I ask you, why are you looking back? In the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, we learn how Lot's wife turned to look at the past, the life she left behind, and what happened to her. She was turned into a pillar of salt. My friends, there is nothing left for us there. Don't look back, for the Lord our God said, "You shall not return that way anymore." Shabbat Shalom.